Kofi Asari is the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch. Mr. Asari, welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Good evening to your choice audience.
Good evening to you too. What's the idea behind this research? Tell us about the schools, the sample size of the schools, and before then, remind us of what this government program was about.
Well, in 2020, the Vice President launched a free Wi-Fi program for senior high schools, district education officers, and regional education officers. Initially, it included the colleges of education. The idea was that internet availability in our schools, was critical to improving teaching and learning, and we agree with that. So we applauded the whole idea and intervention. So Busy Internet was engaged as the internet service provider on a single source procurement, approach. It wasn't competitive. We raised an issue during the procurement stage in 2019, but as usual, it wasn't heeded. So we have a situation where the internet is now supplying internet service after installing internet in all this 317 senior high schools, and then there's 216 also district education officers and regional education officers. Now, our job was simply to ascertain efficiency. Africa Education Watch believes that one of the challenges in our education sector in Africa is spending efficiency, where we spend more, but on low efficiency. And every year we select 2 projects where we run a spending efficiency analysis to see whether how much we are spending is worth the amount being invested. So we sampled 150 senior high schools.
Out of how many?
Out of the 717 senior high schools that are supposed to benefit from the Wi-Fi program.
So these are basic, not basic, these are day schools and boarding schools at all?
Boarding schools, yeah, day schools and boarding schools, senior high schools. Sampled them to ascertain the extent to which the Wi-Fi facility was working, and beyond that, ascertain how they were using it to improve their distance learning experience, etc. And we found that in close to 78% of the schools sampled, the Wi-Fi facility was not working. And not only was the Wi-Fi not working in some of these schools, but we realized that in schools like Prestex, St. Augustine, it has been down for months. And in some schools, it has been down for up to 1.5 years. So the long downtime, triggered adequate concern. Why did it trigger the concern? It triggered the concern because in the contract that the Ministry of Education has signed with Busy Internet, the Ministry of Education is supposed to pay Busy Internet 6.3 million every month for internet service.
Repeat that figure, please.
I'm saying that in the contract signed between the Ministry of Education and Busy Internet, the ministry is supposed to pay 6.3 million Ghana cedis every month as the recurrent cost of supplying internet to the educational institutions.
And do we know if that money is being paid or will be paid or has been paid?
Well, once the internet service is being supplied to some of the schools, I don't have the reason to believe that the money is not being paid, because in about 25% of the schools, internet service was running, it was being supplied, which means that the contract is still in force. And the contract is for a 5-year period. So starting 2019 December for the next 5 years. What we are also aware of is that there are schools that have been off the internet for about 1.5 years, some off for 1 year, and then some of them off for up to 6 months. 36% were yet to receive Wi-Fi internet in 6 months. That's the whole of this year, 36%, and 55% in 18 months. And some of the schools around us that you can mention, I just mentioned percent, that's the nearest you can see. So it's obvious that for majority of the schools that we sampled, there was no Wi-Fi internet being enjoyed. And so we, in our report, recommended to the ministry that there's a section in the contract that allows for verification of output. At that session, there's supposed to be a 5-man committee comprising reps from NACA, Ministry of Education, etc. And then I think NCE. We recommended that it is important for that particular committee's mandate to be extended beyond the initial installation of Wi-Fi facilities in the schools to the monthly recurrent, provision of Wi-Fi service. Because the initial installation is different. That's 84 million, different from the 6.3 million every month. And if we want to achieve value for money, it's incumbent on the Ministry of Education to ensure that before government pays the internet every month for provision of Wi-Fi services, we must have a mechanism to ascertain whether all the institutions under the contract are receiving internet. 2, whether the internet being served to the institutions is of the right certifications as contracted. It is on this basis that the Ministry of Education would or should proceed to pay with internet. But when you have about 77 or so percent of the institutions of senior high schools not getting internet, then it means that there is a high risk of low efficiency and low value for money. And that is why we have requested the Auditor General to commission a performance audit into the entire program. The entire program is supposed to serve about 1,000 educational institutions. As I mentioned, 216 district education officers, regional education directorates, and then the 717 senior high schools. That takes us to about 1,000 institutions. So we've requested the Auditor General to step in and then institute a broad or wide-scale performance audit into the cost efficiency of the program and also program efficiency, so that they can advise the ministry on how to improve upon the program moving forward. Because we believe that this is one of the most important interventions in the education sector, not only secondary education, but also providing internet services to our district education officers and regional education officers, facilitate communication in education management and administration, and also facilitate research in teaching and learning.
I see, Kofi, when you say it is not functioning, is it the case that the installation has been done, but they don't procure or they don't buy data so that it continues to run?
Exactly.
Or it has not been installed at all? What does not functioning mean?
Not functioning means that, in fact, in other schools, internet facilities were already installed. As I mentioned, the contract has an 84 million Ghana cedi component where internet facilities, equipment were supposed to be installed. Okay, so that was done sometime in 2020. So the aim was to ascertain whether after the installation, the institutions were receiving Wi-Fi internet. And so the 77 or so percent that were not receiving Wi-Fi internet, obviously, were senior high schools that, even though had the equipment installed, internet service was not being provided.
I see.
But for the 23% or so, for 23% or so, like Marseille Anglican Senior High School, like Noon Presby Senior High School, they had internet installed, the equipment installed, and the internet facility was also, internet service was also being served. And so that is the difference between the installation and then the actual delivery of internet service.
I see. Have you tried to speak to Busy Internet? Have they said anything to you?
No, this was a rapid survey. So for rapid survey, you want to do a rapid survey of the user institutions to gauge the level of usage. It wasn't a holistic research. But as usual, we wrote to the Ministry of Education for further details, and we didn't get them. And so we couldn't have waited forever because we had information that many of the schools' internet service was down. And it was worrying because every month the state would incur millions. And we couldn't wait forever for the despondency of the Ministry of Education in providing us the relevant information. So we had to hit the campuses and then collect data and advise the ministry that, look, the program is a good program. It's affecting positively teaching and learning in the schools that it is being regularly served. But in majority of the schools, about 2/3, there is no service. And so ensure that the contractor is delivering as contracted. And ensure that before you pay the contractor, you measure their output and be certain that it is consistent with the quality provided in the contract. And most importantly, if you have made payments in the past when internet service was down, you must take steps to redeem the payment because you were paying for services that were not delivered. And that is why it is important that we have brought the Auditor General into this conversation.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
That's Kofi Asare. He's Executive Director of the education think tank, Africa Education Watch. We made calls to the Ministry of Education for comment on the matter. We've not been successful. Neither have we been successful in getting to hear from busy internet.